think we're going. Here we are at the Midco Sports Network studios, and I've got the South Dakota Varsity Sports update. We're going to talk about a lot of high school basketball today and get you caught up with what has been happening and what is to come on the high school hoops court over the entire state. And we're going to start with a little look back at the game of the week from last week. Brandon Valley took a road trip to Rapid City Stevens, and let me tell you what, these were two of the best teams in the state. This game was back and forth. Let's take a look at the highlights if you can see them behind me. It was an interesting start because it was all Rapid City Stevens, all Brandon Valley at the start. There's Evan Telcott hitting a three-pointer right there. They got off to a 24-8 lead to start this thing off. There's a little alley-oop to Carter Altoff. But Rapid City Stevens got things going right before halftime. Dawson Paulson, look at this. 4-point play from the corner. You don't see the 4-point plays very often. Got him within single digits. And then Dylan Poirier, he was huge in this one. Nice drive to the hoop, gave them their first lead of the game. Then they came back, same thing. Dylan Poirier making his move on the basketball, taking it in there, and then they took the lead, and then they expanded that lead in the second half. It got between 4 and 6, 8 points every time you looked. They were increasing that lead, and the Raiders end up getting the win on their home court against Brandon Valley, knocking them out of the top 5 for the time being. They would go on to lose the very next night against Yankton, but a big win for Rapid City Stevens. All right, let's get to the game balls, which we're going to hand out this prestigious Midco SN game ball every week, one to a boys basketball player, one to a girls basketball player. And we've got a list of some of the nominees. We are going to have the results of who gets these game balls tonight on our Instagram and social media. So make sure you follow that tonight around 7 o'clock. We'll have the results from that. But here's a look at the top performers in South Dakota High School basketball last week. And as you can see, Wade Begeman, 74 points already on the season. He's played 3 games and has been absolutely nuts through those 3 games. Paul Bruns, 2 big games. He had 30 points against T-Area and came back with a nice 20-plus point performance last night as well. Noah Dixon, how about this guy? 27 points, 15 boards, and then a 20-20. So 20 points, 20 rebounds. So great start on the year for him. Karst Hunter, 2 big performances to start his year out. Kyler Meyer, 34-point explosion. 6 of those were on three-pointers against Mobridge. Then Jacob Prouty went for 45 points. That's almost the best performance of the week. Not quite the best. Ali Rama, 34-point game. And my favorite stat line on him, 0 turnovers for Red Cloud. So that's a lot of points to get for no turnovers. Andrew Rohrbach, you're going to have to know about this guy. Aberdeen Christian. He's been putting on a show. Huge start for him, 30.7 rebound game. Caleb Simmons out of Edgemont. We don't hear a lot about Edgemont, but he put up almost 40 by himself. And Darren Tronvold, 2 big games for him. Watch out as he leads ACDC this year. And then Caden Verley, he had that 46-point game, which trumped Prouty's 45 for the biggest performance of the week, and then came back last night and had another huge night. So a lot of great players to pick from. We will get a winner after this. Let's take a look at the girls' list. They had a lot of great performers as well. Elena Beneke started her year out as the lone returning starter from the state champion Castlewood Warriors, and all she does is go out and get a triple-double in her first game of the year. Great, 30 points, 10 boards, 10 steals. Ashlyn Denneker, a big night. Morgan Edelman has had 2 big games already for Menno. They're 2-0 to start the season. I did not think that was coming up. Jordan Engbright went over 30 points last night, hitting 11 of 16 from the field. That is dominating. Maddie Handel from Chamberlain went for a 25-point night. Haven Hines of Huron, 2 big nights for her to start the season. Kennedy Leiferman out of Kimball White Lake. She went for 20, 13, 8 steals, 5 assists. So anybody who fills the stat sheet like that, you can make it on the list. Tess Lindberg out of Mitchell with the 26-point performance. Hard to do in AA to score in those 20s. You don't see it very often. Mackenzie Mucky of ACDC, Lori Rogers of Warner, and Mia Ken, I said that wrong. Vincent, young player out of Sioux Valley, who, despite losing the game, put up 32 points in the loss. All right, let's preview what's to come now. That's what's happened. Make sure you do check out the game ball winners, by the way, on our social media accounts. But the Throwback Classic, huge game between Brandon Valley and Yankton coming up Thursday night, and it's going to be live right here on Midco Sports Network. Excited to bring you some live high school basketball starting at 6:30 we're going to have the girls game, and then shortly after that, the boys game, which a lot of people are looking forward to. Let's start by checking out the matchup between the girls. Brandon Valley, they've gotten off to a pretty good start this year, but they face Yankton, a team who didn't win a lot of games last year, but brings back 4 starters, including Madison Webben, and they've got some good shooters this year in Peyton Wolfgram. They're going to have a lot of players in the mix who can do a lot more offensively than they were used to last year. So it's still a team without very many seniors, but they have a lot of players who can do some damage. And they're going to need a lot of those players going up against Brandon Valley. This is a team that also brings back 4 starters, 2 great shooters, and they are the number 2 team in the state right now, maybe the most athletic team around. All right, so that's the girls matchup. And the boys matchup, again, 2 very good teams. Brandon Valley just got knocked out of the top 5. I still had them ranked at number 3. But Yankton has the best player in the state, and pretty much everybody agrees. Matthew Morris, he has absolutely torched the entire state with what he can do, and he's just a sophomore. He's got some help, though, this year. Cooper Korneman, Rex Reichen, a lot of good players. And then, on the other hand, the Brandon Valley Lynx, the team that I like by the end of the year to be one of the best teams in the state. Watch out for Carter Altoff. He is a great athlete. Thomas Skolton, some of the football names transfer over to basketball, Jackson Hilton. So a lot of good players in this one. And I can't wait to be there with Jay Elson to bring you the call Thursday night. Make sure you tune in. It's must-see TV when you get a chance to see Matthew Morris go up against Brandon Valley. That's going to be absolutely huge. All right, what else do we got? We got a couple of facts and figures to talk about. And our facts and figures this week are going to be about the Brandon Valley Yankton boys game. Let's start off with the Brandon Valley boys. Excuse me. The Big 72, what does that mean? That is the percentage of scoring they bring back from last year's squad. They got knocked out of the Sweet 16 last year. Had a team, I think, good enough to make it to state, but bring back a ton of scoring. Plus, Gavin Turhart didn't play last year, and he's a big post player, a 6'9" post player for Brandon Valley. So between the 72% of scoring that they bring back and Gavin Turhart, that's going to be a dominant team. On the other side, you've got Yankton. They bring back 45% of their scoring in one player. Matthew Morris. This guy is absolutely all he's built up to be. He went off in his freshman year, scoring 45% of his team's points. And as we will every week, I think we've got the Matthew Morris Watch. This might be a regular part of our show every week. Matthew Morris, everybody wants to know, how do you do? How did he do? Well, he started out the season. He played 9 minutes. Okay, he played 9 minutes against Spearfish, got into a little foul trouble, and scored 23 points. Just let that sink in. 9 minutes, 23 points. Then he came back the next night, got shut down in the first quarter, and came back and still scored 15 points to help his team beat Stevens. So that's your Matthew Morris Watch for the day. And by the way, 28% of the points this year by Matthew Morris. So not as many to start the year out. But, excuse me, I think he will pick that number back up. So we'll continue to watch Matthew Morris throughout the year. All right, what else do we have? Excuse me, I got to keep clearing my throat here. Sorry about that. Mount Talkmore. This is our new segment, and what this means, I hope it makes sense. What do you want us to talk more about? And we're in the Rushmore State, so I put those two together. We're going to go with Mount Talkmore. So each week I will pick 4 subjects that you send me, and you can type them in right here on Facebook Live. You can go to our Instagram page, our Twitter page, any way you can get a hold of me. Do that, and I will answer your questions. And actually, earlier this week, we had a chance to do some Instagram Q&A, and we got a ton of feedback. We didn't answer them all on Instagram. I saved a few right here for the Varsity Sports update. So let's get to those questions right now. Let's see, the first one, who's the most underrated player in each class? All right, this is what I like. I had to whittle it down a little bit. So boys AA, a few names that you probably don't know, because they didn't have huge years last year, but you need to know. Jackson Hilton, a sophomore from Brandon Valley. Nate Breck, a senior from Lincoln, had a great offseason. I think he's going to be a real threat this year. Carter Shields out of Washington, didn't play as a starter last year for Washington. He's definitely going to be a difference maker for them. But the one player, the best player in AA boys, that you probably haven't heard of, Aiden Evans out of Roosevelt, 6'7", transferred in from a different state. He's already gotten off to a great start and led his team to the a victory over the number 2 Sioux Falls O'Gorman Knights. So huge for him. In girls AA, a name you need to know, again, Roosevelt. This is a freshman for Roosevelt. You probably haven't heard of her because she didn't play last year. Kayla Martinez. She has got game. She's going to be one of the best stars in the next few years in girls AA, so watch out for her. In boys A, Corey Brown. Now, you may have heard of Corey Brown if you really follow high school basketball, but he plays for Pine Ridge. I need some water or something. But he plays for Pine Ridge, had a good year last year, but he isn't getting the recognition that he probably should. So he still qualifies as one of the most underrated players. In girls A, Olivia Kiefer, just an 8th grader out of Rapid City Christian. And the reason I say she's underrated is because she's already gone for over 30 points this year in her first performance. Huge day for her. And in the B ranks, David Rohrbach out of Aberdeen Christian, another team that doesn't often make it to the state tournament. Thank you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Much better. Okay, so you've got David Rohrbach out of Aberdeen Christian, a guy you definitely need to know. He should be probably announced with the best players in the state in Class B every week, but we don't hear a lot about him. And then on the girls' side, Avery Broughton. Great start for her. They took out the ranked Avon Pirates last night, and she put up 20 points. Somebody you definitely need to watch. So there's your long answer to the first Mount Talkmore question. Second question, let's see. Excuse me. We've got thoughts on Parker. Thoughts on Parker. Well, they have like 9 seniors. That's a great start. Anytime you have a senior-laden team like that won like 19 games a year ago, you're in a good spot. And then you've got 2 guys like Trey Christensen and Camden Bialis. These are 2 major scorers. I think Parker is one of those sneaky good teams that if they get into the state tournament, they could do some damage. Good question. Thank you. Next question. We've got... Thank you once again. Watertown, are they going to be back this year? Are they going to bounce back? Well, new coach for Watertown, Zach Weavick, they kind of struggled out of the gate. They couldn't hit any shots against Lincoln. We're talking about the boys here. Again, a senior-laden team. They've got a lot of good players. Brandon Flory led them in scoring. But it's going to be tough. With a new coach, you always have a little transition period. Solomon Bach is a really good big presence in the middle. Adam DeYoung had last year off because of an injury, is trying to work his way back into the rotation. So chemistry, they got to find a few things. I think by the end of the year, they're going to be a decent team, but probably not a top contender. All right, what do we got next? Excuse me. Oh, is this a trick question? Do you think Bonhomme is going to be good this year? Well, yeah, if you followed it all during the football season, I didn't have Bonhomme as an above-average team, and they just went undefeated and kind of rubbed my nose in it a little bit in a friendly way. But do I think that they're going to be good? They had 19 wins last year, and they've got a bunch of seniors back, great athletes. They made it to the Sweet 16. I just think that's about how far they're going to make it this year. Again, they're going to get to that Sweet 16. They'll be a good team, but it's going to be really hard for them to make it to the state tournament. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. I probably should give you the benefit of the doubt, but I think the same result for you guys next year. And I don't hate Bonham. Trust me, I don't. Let's see. So that's all of our Mount Talkmore questions for the week. But make sure you get those questions into me. Feel free, and we'll pick 4 of the best questions every week for the best to talk about. All right, we've got milestones to talk about. So every week, if there's any 1,000-point scorers, 2,000-point scorers, 500 rebound type of performances that you hear out there, make sure to let us know, and we'll try to give you some credit. Let's take a look at some video here of one player. Jacob Prouty needed 2 points. He needed 2 points to get to 1,000. He missed that, and he puts the putback back to get to his record 1,000 milestone points. And then he went on and to get about 43 more points on the night. So he's securely past 1,000. Congratulations to Jacob Prouty of Clark Willow Lake. And another player made it over 1,000 points. Let's see if we got the other one. I think this is a sophomore, just a sophomore, already over 1,000 points. Connor Libis. Connor Libis is a great outside shooter, number 5. You'll see right there behind me. He drains one, and if you have 1,000 points by your sophomore year, just think of where he'll be by the time he's a senior. He's had a tremendous career already and still about 3 years to go. He could hit that 2,000 point level, which not very many players, I think 3 players all time maybe have. So watch out for Connor. So there you go. And to finish off today's Varsity Sports update, we've got the basketball forecast. And this is something I brought back from the past that I did it, and I grade out 7 of the best games or teams to watch through the next 7 days. Let's take a look at that forecast right now. And these first 3 games are L&I games, Lakota Nation Invitational. Those are huge games out in the Black Hills where a lot of native schools get together and play. And 3 teams here, White River, Pine Ridge, Red Cloud, all ranked teams. I gave them a percentage chance to win the entire L&I. So basically, one of these 3 teams is going to win it all. I think Pine Ridge has a little better chance than the other 2, but wouldn't be shocked if one of those other 2 teams wins the L&I. Let's move up to Thursday. We, of course, have the Yankton and Brandon Valley games, but I can't make predictions on those because I'm going to be on the call. So Thursday, there's also other games going on. Boys Roosevelt takes on Washington. Boys, both teams 1-0, so I think it'll be very close. A 55% chance for Roosevelt to go on the road across town and get the win. So that's good to be favored on the road. Let's take a look at Saturday, where we've got a tremendous grouping of talent coming to the Pentagon to play a girls' classic throughout the day. And the best game is going to be Hopkins, Minnesota. Hopkins, Minnesota has a player on their team. She is a junior. She is already committed, or verbally committed, to go to the UConn. And she's going to be in Sioux Falls. So if you're around Sioux Falls and want to check out some of the best talent around, watch Hopkins as they play O'Gorman. They've got about a 62% chance of taking O'Gorman out in that one. Emma Rodsick and company are going to have their hands full. And then Saturday also, girls, we've got Washington versus Lennox in that same classic at the Pentagon. You got one of the best teams in Class A against one of the best teams in Class AA going at it. I think the AA team has a little bit of an advantage, just a 53% chance to win the game. If you agree or disagree, always let me know. I love to have the conversations with you. I'm going to try to do this every week, so make sure to tune in on Facebook Live if you want to watch it live, and then we'll have the rebroadcasts here as well. And always let me know what you are thinking about high school basketball. It helps me so much. All right, till next week. See you later.